to all you political writers that had your stories queued up about the direction of the Democratic Party for when you thought Paul Vallas was going to win in Chicago, go ahead and rewrite it to keep that same energy about the direction of the party now that Brandon Johnson is one. Because it's real funny to me how when there's usually a black versus a white candidate before the election, especially when the white candidate is leading in the polls, all these stories come out about how, oh, this could be a bellwether. This could show where the party is going. But then as soon as the black person wins, y'all be quiet. Don't do it. Don't do it. Make sure you talk about how black candidates are electable. Make sure you talk about how the message of racial justice and the message of policing reform resonates with the electorate. Make sure you talk about how black voters are the base of the party, and with black voters comes a multiracial coalition. And make sure you talk about how Democrats want to elect real Democrats, not Republican light.
All right, guys. So stories like this is why I take the Socrates approach to voting. Okay, I'm not a big democracy guy. Okay, and this is why I laugh at Democrats who cry so much about the attack on our democracy, because I'm just like, well, it's a good thing. It's a great thing, actually, that this country is not a full democracy. And the reason why is because of elections like the one that you just saw in Chicago, okay, where Lori Lightfoot is on the way out the door. Okay, she got kicked to the curb. Okay, because she was terrible when it came to crime, and this ultimately led a lot of businesses to leave Chicago because simply it's unsafe to operate a business in Chicago. Okay, it's unsafe to operate a business. It's unsafe to live. It's just, you know, it's just a terrible place to be. Honestly, I mean, Lori Lightfoot really, did a terrible job running that city. Okay, so she's on the way out the door. And you would think that the voters of Chicago would understand that the reason why Chicago is in such a terrible place is because of radical left Democrats and their policies, right? Particularly progressives, right? Lori Lightfoot is a full-blown progressive. So you know what Chicago does in response to getting rid of progressive Lori Lightfoot? They don't vote for the alleged police hard on crime candidate, which was Paul Vallas. They actually voted for the progressive soft on crime candidate, Brandon Johnson, who's even more woke than Lori Lightfoot. This guy is to the left of Lori Lightfoot, and Chicagoans went out and voted for this guy. No, I'm not making this up. This is what actually happened in Chicago. Wow, amazing stuff.
This morning, as he shook hands with some of his voters, the winner of this hard-fought race says he's humbled, excited, and ready to lead the city of Chicago.
I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to all the great things that you're going to do for this city. We're going to do it together.
Brandon Johnson shaking hands with commuters this morning at the Red Line Cermak stop in Chinatown, fresh off his victory.
A better, stronger, safer city is something that we're all going to work towards together. And I want to thank the residents of the city of Chicago for putting their trust in our movement.
Andrea DeFell Shavers met the mayor-elect in person, overcome with emotion.
Thank you, sir. God bless you.
And full of confidence in his future.
It's just time for a change, and Lori Lightfoot did a wonderful job, and we're just going to keep on moving in a positive direction. That's all.
The 47-year-old Cook County Commissioner now becomes the 57th mayor of Chicago in a come-from-behind victory by a candidate who was largely unknown 6 months ago. The progressive Democrat facing the challenge of bringing together a city divided on how to deal with big issues like crime. Randy Horn says it's critical.
I want to see this crime thing solved. I was attacked right outside of this L station several months ago. So I'm looking forward to the crime thing being cleaned up.
Meanwhile, Democrat Paul Vallas accepted defeat last night in front of a stunned group of supporters. The 69-year-old former CPS CEO and former city budget director urging people to come together.
The only pathway forward in our great city is together. Whether it's quality schools, affordable or equitable economic development, the solutions we adopt and implement must work for all Chicagoans.
Meanwhile, Johnson's base is looking for him to deliver on a campaign promise to invest in people all across the city.
Actually, just congratulating him and wished him well for the city. So we'll see how it turns out. I think he'll get it done in the 4 years. I think he'll get it done.
Johnson will spend the rest of the day speaking one-on-one with several media outlets, including Eyewitness News. He takes office next month.
Yeah, again, you can't make this stuff up, right? These people are saying, look, we're concerned about crime, but yet you voted for a guy who literally supports defunding the police.
On multiple occasions, you've spoken on the topic of defunding police. In 2020, you said, quote, defunding this failed system of incarceration and policing was not just admirable, but necessary, end quote. During a town hall called Police Free Future, you commended defund organizers for, quote, an agenda that actually can transform people's lives, and said, quote, removing ourselves away from state-sponsored policing. That is commendable. As far as redirecting funds, if we look at your record, you introduced a resolution and passed it with the support of others to redirect money from the sheriff's office to other areas. So first, this is a multi-part question. The first is just a yes or no. Do you acknowledge making those recorded and documented statements, yes or no?
I'm not going to defund the police.
If you could answer the question, though.
Yeah.
Do you acknowledge making the statements that I just read by quote, yes or no?
What I've acknowledged is the fact that there are people who are incredibly frustrated.
Mr. Johnson, if I could get you back to the question,
of course.
It's solely yes or no. Do you acknowledge making those statements?
Look, you've already quoted. What I'm saying is, though,
so you
is that it provides
making those statements?
Of course, I'm acknowledging it, but I want to make sure that we have context.
I want to give you the opportunity to answer the question, but I just want to move on to the next part of it.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, guy doesn't really want to answer the question on defunding police and some of the statements that he made. But of course, our boy, William J. Kelly, okay, who made Lori Lightfoot's life a nightmare because he simply asked her tough questions about a job while also telling her how bad of a job she's doing. He was on the scene to question Mr. Johnson here about his radical defund the police stance. Take a look.
Commissioner Johnson, you have voted to raise taxes. Commissioner Johnson, could you please answer the question that the voters need to have answered about? Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. God, please don't. Sorry. Please don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. God, could you stop that man? Stop that man. Excuse me, Commissioner. You have voted, Commissioner, you have voted to raise taxes. You have voted to defund the police. Could you please answer the question? Could you please answer the question? The people of Chicago, please don't touch me. You have voted to defund the police as a commissioner. Could you please answer the question before the election? The election is coming up in a matter of days. Could you please answer the question that the people of Chicago deserve to have answered? Could you please, why are you not answering the question? As a county commissioner, you made the people of the West Side less safe. Excuse me, sir. What? I'm sorry, what?
1 second.
Why? Why is that?
1 second.
Why are you preventing him? Why aren't you answering the question, Commissioner? The people of Chicago need to know.
Yeah, so no answers, right? And I hope William J. Kelly is a pain in this guy's ass. The same way he was to Lori Lightfoot. Again, this guy is like the Peter Ducey of Chicago. He really is. Yeah, shout out to William Kelly, bro. But, you know, part of what he said about this guy's radical left agenda is not just about defunding the police. He also wants to raise taxes substantially as well.
Wall Street buzzing today about Chicago's new mayor and his plans to raise taxes on major corporations to boost the city's revenue. Robert Frank has that story. I saw this in a number of research notes today, Robert, because of the tax plan.
Well, Sarah, and there's so many of them, and that's what makes it interesting. Chicago's new mayor proposing $800 million in new taxes on businesses and financial trading. Mayor-elect Brandon Johnson saying he wants a $4 per employee tax on companies that have at least half their operations in Chicago. He's proposing a securities and speculation tax. That's $1 to $2 per securities trading contract. That would, of course, impact the CME and the CBOE there in Chicago. There is a jet fuel tax on airlines, raise about $100 million, a new hotel tax, and he's proposing a new mansion tax on high-end real estate sales. Pro-business groups saying this is going to cause a lot more companies to leave Chicago. You've already had Boeing announcing last year it's moving from Chicago to Virginia. Caterpillar also leaving, and Citadel and Ken Griffin planning to move to Miami. Ken Griffin, of course, already has moved. Chicago is looking at a budget gap of about $128 million for 2023. A lot of that from underfunded pensions, but that budget gap is the smallest since 2019. But Sarah, a lot of budget problems ahead as that federal aid starts to run out. And they just haven't had the employment growth that a lot of other cities have had. And of course, they've got a huge crime problem, which they're trying to solve.
Yes. Right. So I'm wondering who's left to pay these, right? Boeing, Caterpillar, you mentioned Citadel, Tyson Foods, I think also moving its headquarters from Chicago. Don't the politicians realize this turns business away?
His view is that if you invest in the city, it will be safer, cleaner, and better, and will attract more business. That yet to be seen as a theory, whether that works.
Yeah, public safety definitely behind Citadel's move. Robert, appreciate that very much. Robert Frank.
Yeah, so what does that sound like, guys? Right? What does that sound like? It sounds like we've already tried this in this country, okay? Like, look at cities like San Francisco or Portland or Los Angeles. High taxes and being soft on crime. Oh, no, we need to take the money and reinvest back into the community, and that's going to magically get rid of crime, right? They've been saying this for the longest time, and it hasn't worked anywhere, okay? They're taxing all the major employers out of the city, right? So they're leaving, okay? And they're going to, again, defund the police and be soft on crime. They're going to be soft on criminals. Again, Chicago is on a one-way trip to becoming just like San Francisco, okay? And my new nickname for Chicago is going to be Shit-Cago, right? Because that's exactly what it's going to turn into. It's already bad, but it's going to get even worse, okay? It's on a one-way trip to Shikuku for Cocoa Puff World, right? Shikuku for Cocoa Puff World, Shit-Cago, whatever you want to call it. That's what they're going to turn this city into, okay? And again, this is why I say I take the Socrates approach to voting. I don't think that everybody should vote, okay, because of stuff like this. These people went out and voted for somebody even worse than Lori Lightfoot. They did not realize that the cause of your problems is the progressivism, right? It's the progressive policies. And they voted for it again, right? While also complaining about crime. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. So again, at the end of the day, I mean, look, you know, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised. And these people continue to vote for the same thing over and over again, and their cities fall apart. So, I mean, hey, at the very least for me, it's entertaining content. I will probably continue to still have entertaining content as Chicago continues to fall apart. So it is what it is. But I feel bad for the people in that city, but only so much because, again, the city voted for what they're getting here, okay? I feel bad for any Republican in that city or somebody that actually did, you know, vote for tougher policing. You know, but hey, it is what it is. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black Conservative Perspective. Peace.